Hey family, how y'all doing? Woos, get ready to cancel those subscriptions to White Supremacy Weekly. And as usual, black love, black pride, and black power. And you have to know yourself, to love your people. So go ahead and let's get ready to check those egos so we can dive right on in to today's talking point. I'm gonna just throw out the statement for this video. Religion throws us off of harmony and out of balance. This is in regards to patriarchy, dominion over the earth, the value of and the placement of women, as well as male and female relationships. To start it off, the idea of patriarchy. A lot of black men find it so hard to let go of religion because of the way men are positioned throughout the Bible and throughout the Quran and throughout the Torah. You're put into this. The Bible gives you this idea that it's all about you, and women are just there to make babies for you to create more stories. With that being said, it's understandable why the Bible was written that way, because of the fact that the people that wrote the Bible, like it or not, the Bible was written and not by who you think it was. It has a publishing date and it's not by when you think it is. But the men who got together and wrote that Bible are all a part of a huge homosexual and pedophilic culture where women were basically there just to make more male babies. The highest form of love was seen as between a father and his son, and not in innocent kind of way. Okay, let's be real. Yeah, basically women were all kinds of just seen as nothing, but that was their culture. However, us not being European people, we don't need to adopt that aspect of their culture, and we don't need to be believing in a doctrine that celebrates and promotes their culture when that's not how we zoo over here. Okay, which is why I understand why it's so easy for black men to hold on so tightly to these religious doctrines, because the rest of the world is consistently beating you down, trying to take away your humanity, trying to tell you you're not this, you're not that, etc. We've got white supremacy kicking your ass, and not too many are really willing to do anything about it. We've got society, we got all this kind of stuff beating our brothers down, and the only thing to make them feel a little bit better about their conditions is the fact that they're male. I can't feel good about my blackness, but I can feel good about my maleness. So I'm going to cling on to this doctrine that is destroying, myself spiritually, and it is also throwing me off of balance and out of harmony with my female counterpart, because I'm desperate for some kind of validation, some kind of feeling of power or control, that this book is the only thing that gives me that. And this book says to get that power, to keep that control, I have to see my women as what they're not, and I have to treat them as what they're not. And thus we got these relationship strains, off balance, out of harmony. The next point, the whole, and this kind of ties into the first point, the value of women. When you look throughout the Bible, we basically ain't shit. We're whores, we're sick, we're the reason for sin in this world, we're cursed, we're this, that, and the third. We're Jezebels, and especially African women, we are the heathens, the heathen women that Solomon wasn't supposed to marry, because we'd tell him some sins basically, and he would have to question his faith or whatever. But the women are always something negative. It's either they're an insignificant role or they're a negative role. And a lot of people want to bring up Mary and how Mary gave birth to Jesus and do blah do blue. But honestly, Mary is just about it, and even still, literally all she was there to do was give birth. She has no significant story of her own. No one cares about her background or this or that or whatever. It's just all about who she gave birth to, which goes back to the point I made earlier about, in European culture, women really only being useful for making babies. They didn't even have the decency to write Jesus in to have a wife or a girlfriend or nothing. Like, all he did was hang around a bunch of dudes in a time and a culture that homosexuality was this very normal, very acceptable thing. So it's like, I'm not supposed to raise my eyebrows, But enough with that. The point is, in African spirituality and across African cultures and traditions, women were seen as divine and sacred and capable and this and that. Not only are in things like our cycle and whatnot, those things were not seen as curses. We are not seen as cursed. We're seen as divine. We're seen as queens. We're seen as this, that, and the third. And we were treated as such by our men before the introduction of Christianity. You'll notice if you look at countries that had these genitalia mutilating traditions and whatnot, a lot of those traditions and stuff started after they were introduced to religion, after they were introduced to Islam, after they were introduced to Christianity. And you can see just by looking at the some of the more extreme results and whatnot, you can see how this has drastically affected the way we treat and see each other as African men and female women as counterparts and as a part of the same team. Yeah, basically women ain't shit in the Bible, and to be a woman and to be a Christian, you have to really not read the book and really not care about what it has to say, because it's just everything negative comes pointing right back to you. And now I want to jump into this real briefly. I want to jump into this idea of the Bible saying that man has dominion over the earth. The problem with that is this rhetoric was created, one, by European people, and they used that passage from the book that they were given by their own people to come up with this idea of manifest destiny, which is where they go out and conquer the world because they're destined to do so, because they manifested that destiny and God ordained them to go and save the world or whatever. This idea of dominion over the earth is just completely ridiculous to me, because as African people, we are an extension of the earth. We are connected to it. We are condensed sunlight. These vessels that we are in is condensed sunlight, and it's in harmony with it. So we're supposed to be working with nature to keep nature balanced, to keep everything flowing. However, with this idea of dominion over the earth, we understand that the European idea of power means that there has to be a struggle for it, and something has to be losing or dying or this and that in order for Europeans to feel like they have power. And that comes with the idea of dominion as well. You have to dominate. There has to be, something losing for you to gain. And something like dominion the idea of dominion is only necessary for people who are parasitic, and not African people, especially European people, they are the cancer to the earth. They are parasites, and that's just what it is. But African people, we are not. So when we have this idea of dominion over the earth, and so we use that as an excuse to treat the earth however, manipulate it however, destroy it later, it's because we've lost that connection, and we don't see ourselves as an extension of nature, even though the only difference between a plant and us is that our chemical structure is iron based, and theirs is it magnesium or chlorophyll? We have the same chemical structure. It's just their nucleus is one element, and ours is, I believe, iron. That's the only difference between us and plants. That just shows that connection that we have. They receive intelligent information from the sun. We receive intelligent information from the sun. We need them to breathe. They need us to breathe. It's a relationship. It's not a dominion. It's not a one over the other. Without either, we're all failing. This earth without African people, done. African people without this earth in these vessels, done. It's a done deal. So the idea of us having dominion over the earth and this and the third, and this is why people come up with excuses on why we're murdering and eating animals, and why we want to treat the earth certain kinds of ways, and why we're not thinking about the consequences of our unnatural actions following these unnatural people. And that book has a lot to do with the justification of it, this idea of dominion over the earth. These are just a couple of ways that the Bible throws us off balance and out of harmony with ourselves and with nature. I'm going to talk about other ways, but those points are much larger, so I'm going to do them in their own videos, kind of like a sub video, I guess. But that's those are just some things for you to think about on how these religious doctrines and ideas have us thrown out of whack, thrown off balance. And of course, there's more to come, but per usual, Black love, Black pride, Black power. Let's check those egos at the play button. And don't forget to unsubscribe to White Supremacy Weekly, as well as you have to know yourself, to love your people. Peace.